My name is Tony Marabella. I'm acting as chair today. Our remote location is at Evolves Detention Center. Is there staff there with you, Mr. Charrier?
Yes, sir.
Would staff there at Evolves please introduce themselves?
Yes, sir. Amanda Lemoyne.
Thank you very much, Deputy Lemoyne.
You're welcome.
Mr. Charrier, would you please give us your full name and DOC number?
Royston Paul Charrier Jr. 768-463.
Mr. Charrier, let me explain our process to you. First, I'm going to read some information into the record. The board is going to conduct a parole interview with you. At
Yes.
the appropriate time, we will allow the participants who've indicated they wish to speak to have their input. Requesting to speak today is your wife, Ms. Krista Charrier, and your son, Jordan Littleton.
Yes.
At the end of that, you'll be allowed to make a brief statement before the board votes. Do you understand our process, sir?
Yes, sir.
This is the matter of Royston Charrier, DOC number 768-463, date of birth October the 20th of 1971. It's classified as a first-time felony offender. He has a parole eligibility date of September the 2nd of 2022. He is not eligible for a good time, and he has a full-term date of January the 2nd of 2024. He is currently serving a 2-year sentence on the charge of carnal knowledge of a juvenile, having been sentenced on November the 29th of 2021. Is that information all accurate, Mr. Charrier?
Yes, sir.
Charrier, would you give me your full name, please? I mean, your data of how old you are right now?
51.
And how long have you been in prison on these 2 years?
This is my 14th month.
14th month.
Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about your educational background. Where'd you go in school?
I graduated from Marksville High School.
Okay. And did you work after that? What did you do?
Yes, sir. I acquired a job driving tractors with Ray Prather and with Lake Ophelia. And from there, got a job with AFCO Industries. Worked there at AFCO roughly, I think it was 6 years. And then from there, I went to work with Commercial Electric in Alexandria and worked there for 3 years. And then the town of Cheneyville hired me for the water and wastewater superintendent. I worked there for 6 years. And then Fort Polk hired me to maintain their water and wastewater system. I worked there for 6 years. And that's pretty much where then I went back to, I went to DeVille Water System, which is Buckeye Water System. And I worked there, I've been there for 4 years. Yes, sir.
Where did you work on August of 2019?
I want to say I was with American Water at Fort Polk. Yes.
And were you still working there when you went to prison on November? I don't think you went to prison in November. I think you went in January of 2020.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Still working there at that point?
No, sir. I was working with DeVille with Buckeye Water. That's where I was at. I'm sorry. I can't get all the dates mixed up.
You're currently married?
Yes, sir.
And who are you married to?
Krista June Charrier.
And Krista Charrier is the mother of the victim in this case.
Yes, sir.
How long have y'all been married?
We've been married for 17 years. I want to say right at 18.
Tell me what happened on August the 3rd of 2019. That's the date that the domestic violence was alleged to have occurred. You were arrested for domestic violence. You were arrested for a lot of things. You ultimately ended up pleading guilty to carnal knowledge of a juvenile. Let's talk about the domestic violence charges. I know those were dismissed, and I know there was a plea bargain involved, but I want to know your version of what happened on that date.
My stepdaughter, she had two kids that were living with us, and she was working. My stepdaughter was working at the hospital, and when she would come home, or when she was supposed to be home, she would just leave and leave the kids with my wife. My wife was taking care of the home, trying to pay bills, taking care of two kids, but my stepdaughter would never try to help take care of the kids or pay anything to help with them. We paid everything, including hospital bills. And just that day, I fussed at her. I said, "You need to spend time with your babies." I mean, that sometimes
This was 3 o'clock in the morning, according to reports.
Oh, no, sir. No, sir. No,
Okay.
sir. This was around 9:30, 9 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And I told her she just needed to spend time with her kids, because they would say, "Well, where's mama?" And she was never there. And whenever she should spend time with her, and that was pretty much it. My wife was right there with me.
You didn't break her telephone?
No, sir.
You didn't hit her, beat her, abuse her in any way?
No, sir.
You didn't
No.
break her car fob so she couldn't drive away or get away?
No, sir.
Why would she say that?
I have no idea, and that hurts me every day. I don't know.
Tell me about your relations with her. Did you have sexual relations with her?
No, sir. Not really. No.
Not really.
It was
You-
talked
You
about.
know,
It was
I'm
talked.
sorry?
It was talked about. She confronted me with it. She confronted me with it.
Oh, well, I can confront you with robbing my co-partner up here, but
Yes,
that's a lie.
yes, sir.
My question to you is, did you have sexual relations or some sort of molestation with this young woman?
No, sir.
Why did you plead guilty to carnal knowledge of a juvenile?
Because I sold everything. I ran out of money for a lawyer. I just didn't know what else to do. I didn't have no more money. I mean,
Well, let's go back to your original answer a second ago, because I think you were getting ready to say, we talked about it.
yes.
What do you mean talked about it? And you talked about having sex with her?
No, she confronted me with it.
What did she confront you with?
And she said she wanted to be with me, and she didn't want to be with no one else. And I told her, I said, you need to be with your daddy's, maybe your baby's daddy, and that's who you need to be with. And matter of fact, that night, my wife was right there. When I told her, I said, that will never happen. I don't care how much you want it. She told me, she says, I want what you and my mama have, but I want it with you.
So what you're saying is she came on to you.
Yes, sir. She would always come. I'd be in my shop. She would come to me in my shop and just want to talk about things like that. And I would say, just try to put it off. And
I was present when some of these things were happening.
that night, my wife was present. Yes, sir. When I told her that would never happen, that she needs to get that out of her mind, my wife was right next to me.
Well, I'm still wondering why you plead guilty to carnal knowledge of a juvenile. You're going to have to register as a sex offender. You're probably not going to be able to get a job. There are places that you're not going to be able to live. Why would you plead to that charge if this young woman is a loose cannon and mama doesn't believe her, nobody believes her? Why would you plead guilty instead of going to trial?
I don't know. I felt that I didn't have any other option. Maybe I might have made a bad decision on that, but I felt that I didn't have any other option. I ran out of money. I sold everything I had, sold everything I worked for the last 20-something years. We lost our home. We were able to sell the home, and thank God it wasn't foreclosed. But I really didn't know what else to do. I've never been in trouble. Never had you know, I just really didn't know what to do.
Have you ever been physical with her? Have you ever abused her, hurt her, bruised her in any way?
No, sir. No, sir.
Not tell the police when you were interviewed that you grabbed her once and she bruises very easily? You didn't say that to the police?
No, sir.
In your tape statement, you didn't say that.
I told them, I said, I grabbed her by the hand and I said, come sit down by the table and let's talk. And that's what we did. My wife was right there next to me.
Did she have bruises on her?
No, sir, not that I've seen.
Why would you tell the police that you grabbed her once and she bruises very easily? Why would you say that to the police?
Because the police told me that she had a bunch of bruises and that they said that we know you did that. And I told them, I said, she has a condition where she bruises very easy. Her baby, when she was holding her little baby, the baby was jumping up and down on her lap. You know how a baby does. And it bruised all her legs. And my wife can verify that. She had just come out of the hospital for some similar reasons, and which she would call and me and her mom, and please come to the hospital. I need y'all. And we was always there for her. I mean, that's why this has hurt me so bad. I mean, I've never been in trouble or anything like this before. I didn't know what to do.
Now, you were arrested when?
I was never arrested. They never came and arrested me. They called me in.
Turned yourself in.
That was.
You got a lawyer. Mr. Higgins was your lawyer.
Yes,
Higgins talked to the police. They were trying to work out something.
yes,
He
sir.
was doing some investigation, and then finally, in September of 2020, you got arrested by turning yourself in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I did.
And that's ultimately when you decided to plead guilty to carnal knowledge of the duty.
That's whenever I had nothing left. I had no more money. And Mr. Higgins wouldn't return my phone call. I have a text message where we were texting him and he would not return my wife's call. I was trying to work and he wouldn't return my calls. And the time was getting closer for that trial or that pre-trial. And then we didn't know what to do. My wife went, she got Miss Sanders, and we told Miss Sanders, we don't know what to do. Miss Sanders called Mr. Higgins, and we was in her office, and Mr. Higgins said, "Oh, well, they never called me." And I showed Miss Sanders all the text messages where I've been trying to text him. My wife was trying to text him. My wife had been calling him, and he wouldn't return our phone calls.
Well, you could have gotten a public defender if you couldn't afford a lawyer.
I know,
I'm
but
sure the judge told you.
yes,
So
sir.
you pled guilty without a lawyer? You went in by yourself and pled guilty?
Yeah, because Mr. Higgins walked out on me. I didn't know what else to do.
You were not represented by a lawyer at your guilty plea?
The judge was not there. Mr. Higgins was not there.
Who was not there?
The judge was not there. Mr. Higgins was not there.
Mr. Charrier,
Yes.
in order to plead guilty, there has to be a judge.
No, sir.
Judge.
He was not there. He was not there. My wife and my son had just went in before me, and they said the same thing. Where is the judge at? The judge was not present. There wasn't even a speaker. Tried to look around. So I'm like, really? This is just the DA and.
Mr. Charrier. Mr. Charrier.
Yes, sir.
I am looking at the minutes. The accused being present in court, accompanied by his retained counsel, Tiffany Sanders. Who is Tiffany Sanders?
Tiffany Sanders. That was the day that I had accepted the plea.
That's what I'm asking you.
Okay.
You pled guilty in front of a judge with a public defender.
Yes, sir.
So don't tell me you didn't have a lawyer and blame this all on Mr. Higgins.
Oh,
You're
no.
not a lawyer.
No, this was, I'm talking about before that. Before that. It was before that. I didn't have.
You didn't get that lawyer that morning. I was a judge for 14 years. Don't tell me there was no judge when you pled guilty. You had a public defender as a lawyer,
Oh, yeah, when I pled guilty, yes, sir, he was there.
but you had a public defender before that day. That judge didn't give you a public defender that morning and said you got to plead guilty.
No, sir.
How
I did.
long did you have that public defender?
Miss Tiffany, I want to say about 2 months.
Why did you tell me a minute ago you didn't have no lawyer? You couldn't afford it.
This was before that. I'm talking about
You know what I was talking about. Don't
Nope.
give me that. I don't think you're being very honest with me, Mr. Charrier.
I am.
It makes me question a lot of things that you say.
No, sir. I don't know the proper terminology for the different hearings, and it was a
I
hearing.
hear all of that. But
Yep.
you know when you went to court and pled guilty, and that's what I asked you.
Yes,
When
sir.
you went to court and pled guilty, I said, did you do it alone? You said, yes. Mr. Higgins left me there. There was no judge there. There was no lawyer there. I just pled guilty that day. Well, that's BS, and I know it.
Yeah, no, this was the day that I didn't have Mr. Higgins was at the pretrial. That's
And
what.
that's when you got a public defender.
Yes, that I didn't have one.
The judge gave you a couple of months to get your business straight.
Yes, sir, that's right. That's right. I don't know all the
And when-
terminologies. I'm sorry.
And when you pled guilty, the judge read into the records what you were accused of having done, right?
Yes, sir.
And you said, yes, Your Honor, I'm guilty.
Yes, sir.
And you were under oath,
Yes, sir.
but that was a lie.
Yes, sir.
You're in Evolves Detention Center. How long have you been there? Have you been there the whole time?
Yes, sir.
Have you taken any programs at all while you've been there?
I tried, and they told me that because I had 2 years or less, that I would not. I didn't qualify for it. That's what they told me.
That you are required to take sex offender treatment?
No, sir.
Have you taken any sex offender treatment at all?
They said I have no. Miss Mahmood with the DOC said that because I have 2 years or less, that I can't take any classes.
So you haven't taken any programs while you've been there?
No, sir. I've maintained a job in here as a trustee the whole time, but I've asked her twice.
Where will you be living when you get out?
With my wife and son in DeVille.
Is there a school anywhere? Are you aware of the requirements that you will have to meet where you live and in those things as a sex offender?
Yes, sir. I am.
You realize at the time that you pled guilty, you would have to register as a sex offender?
Yes, sir. I figured. Yeah.
You were told all of those things, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
And yet you're telling me you didn't do any of these things, but you pled guilty to go to prison for 2 years, register as a sex offender for the next 50.
Yes, sir. I felt I didn't have no other choice. If there was any bad choices I ever made, it would be this one.
Sounds like you made some other bad choices, I believe.
Yes, sir.
All of law enforcement is opposed to your release. The victim in this case is opposed to your release. Sorry, anything else? Okay. Now we'll hear from your supporters. Let's hear from your wife, Ms. Royston Charrier. Ms. Charrier, you would please unmute your microphone and tell us what you'd like us to know.
Can you please repeat that?
Yes, ma'am. If you would introduce yourself and tell us what you would like us to know.
I'm Krista Charrier. I'm Royston Charrier's wife. I would love to see my husband come home, and so we can start our life over, because at this moment we have literally lost everything and I'm starting over. trying to make us a home where we're at now. All he's ever done was work his whole life, come home, and we would go do side jobs. All we did was work, work, and work. He's a wonderful husband, a great friend, and he was a wonderful dad to both of my children. Until your children leave and say you can't control what they do and say when they leave, when they get mad at you. And it really hurts for, you know, what they did, because he is really a one. He's put himself first, even on job.
You're cutting in and out, Ms. Charrier, but we can hear you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm in a bad spot. But I mean, even at work, all of his coworkers would vouch for him if they could be here. They've backed him up on everything, and everything that he's done, he's always put himself first. He's never put none of his coworkers in danger, because he would take the danger hits or whatever it might be. He would always be the one to step up first, you know, and be the leader. I mean, he's never done nothing wrong in his life. I can honestly say that. He's a great person, and no matter who you would talk to with any of his workers, from Fort Polk all the way to Cheneyville to Buckeye Water, they would all tell you he's a great guy, and they would bend over backwards for him. And I would really, really love to see him come home, because it hurts.
Thank you, Ms. Charrier. We appreciate your comments. Mr. Jordan Littleton.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Littleton, if you'd introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like us to know.
My name's Jordan Littleton. I'm the son of Royston Charrier, and my dad is absolutely an amazing guy. He would never hurt anyone. He's one of those people that would give the shirt off his back for someone. He would never hurt anyone, and I'm ready for him to come home.
Thank you very much, Mr. Littleton. We appreciate your comments. Mr. Charrier, is there anything you'd like to say before the board votes?
Yes, sir. I want to thank y'all for giving me the opportunity for this. And I know I don't speak very well or remember everything very well, but if y'all give me this opportunity, I promise you, I won't let y'all down. And I'll work very hard, like I've always tried to work, to support my family. And just, I want to be able to start my life over again with my wife and son and my family and friends, and try to regain and do everything that I need to do that y'all would tell me to do. Just please give me this opportunity. I greatly appreciate your time. Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate you discussing those.
Yes, sir.
Charrier, you know, I don't think that you were very honest with me today. It's got nothing to do with your intelligence. I think you're a very intelligent man. I think that you may not be the most eloquent person, but you speak very well.
Yes,
I think there were a number of things that you just lied to me. Blamed it on your lawyer. You said, "Oh, I pled guilty to something I didn't do." Well, that's very serious. You pled guilty. You know, reviewing all of the records and reviewing everything that I've seen, and it's unfortunate that you're in Rawls Parish where they won't let you take any courses, but you haven't taken any.
Yeah.
You've got a full-term date of January the 2nd of 2024.
yes.
Once you get out, you'll have to register for the next 15 years as a sex offender.
Yes.
I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry, I did not. Ms. Lemoyne, can you tell us anything about Mr. Charrier?
I just started back here. I was actually the warden at our women's facility. I've been here since April, but then I left here, went to, be a warden in Concord. Then they brought me back here because they needed me here. But I've never heard anything bad about him, really. I mean, he's a trustee. He does, what he's told to do here. And as far as I know, he has no write-ups. Never hear anything from him.
Thank you very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate you coming.
You're welcome.
Mr. Charrier, it sounds like well, under structure. It sounds like they're a hard worker.
Yes, sir.
Sex offenders are a different animal. Most sex offenders have a good job. They're good earners. They do well in prison. They don't get in any kind of trouble. But you pled guilty to a very serious sex offense.
I know.
And my vote today is to deny your parole. I'm 1 of 3 votes. Ayes?
Mr. Charrier, I'm very concerned too. I am. But I'm just hopeful for you. My vote is to grant. You do have a low tiger. You have good family support and the positive comments from the institutional staff.
Yes.
Best wishes to you, sir.
Mr. Freeman?
Due to the serious offense and only a 2-year sentence, I vote.
Mr. Charrier, your vote is 2 to 1 to deny. Your parole has been denied.
Miss Wise granted. Why? That's a scary look. That's the look of a cockroach.
We appreciate it. We'll be adjourned from there.
I
A true life cockroach. Man, I really liked how Mr. Mirabella handled this. I love what he said. Sex offenders are a different animal. You're right, they are a different animal. They're an insect. They're a cockroach. They can hold good jobs. They do well in prison. You can try to squish them as much as you can, and they just don't squish. Can you believe what he was saying, though? Like, do you actually believe what he was saying? She was always coming on to me. She would come into my workshop and come on to me. She would say, I want what you and mom have. What? You can't make it up. You really can't make it up. And then her actual mom, her biological mom, comes up and what is going on? His whole story about lying, about not having an attorney and not being able to afford an attorney, and that's why he pled guilty. And then Mr. Mirabella he had all the documents. He was just trying to get him to bury himself more and more and more. And then it happened. He buried himself, and that was. Then he came out like, and he got him, got the roach. I don't get why Miss Wise granted him. And do you think those were real tears or Amber Heard tears? Those look like real fake tears to me. Those were Amber Heard tears. You saw how quickly he looked completely normal, like instantly. Like once the hearing was done, he stared at the screen and he put on his glasses. Oh, she bruises easily, the example he gave, because she had bruises on her legs. She's holding her baby and the baby was jumping on her. And she got bruises on her legs. That is impossible. Unless you have like that disease, whatever it's called, you're not going to bruise with your baby jumping on your legs. I don't know. Tell me, am I wrong? Maybe there are some outliers, but I don't believe it's in this case. No, I don't. You saw his anger, in my opinion, pop up right there at the end. I want what you and mom have. And then the mom comes and just throws her own children under the bus. What is wrong with you? You know, if it was so important to you to get your husband back, you think that you would maybe have not been in the car? It's unbelievable. It's your husband. You're so precious. His parole hearing, and you're in the car. And it wasn't like she was like at work and got out, went in the car. I mean, that didn't seem what it was to me. She was driving, right? Oh man. Take your shirt off their back. I'm so sick of that saying. It's like, come up with something else. Shirt off your back. His whole thing about the attorney. We were texting the attorney. We were calling the attorney. We were calling. My wife called. He didn't. Well, maybe because he had to pay him. What kind of an excuse is that? And then he comes back. Well, you had an attorney. You had a public defender. And then they see he really kept. That dude was just lying. Like that was the best lie he can come up with. You know, it's funny. We had the sex offender last time who seemed to have money, and he was saying he pleaded. He didn't realize what he was pleading to. He was tricked by the prosecutor. And then in this story, he pleaded guilty because he didn't realize it. He couldn't afford an attorney. He had to sell everything. It's funny. It's like they plead guilty for some reason. And then they realize they don't like prison very much and they want to get out. Oh man. Or they're told that, well, you'll get your parole hearing, but they don't realize like you're not going to get granted parole. Definitely not with that strategy. Man, scary, so terrifying. And his wife is protecting him. Sick. Cockroaches are a different animal. Yep, because they're an insect. Cockroaches, sorry. Sex offenders. Yep. Glad he's locked up. I'll let you go.